Hey everybody, Playtendoguy here, and welcome to my review of Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. During the 3DS's lifespan, the handheld has received some brilliant RPGs, but the Square Enix games Bravely Default and its sequel Bravely Second stand as probably the best on the system, with its beautiful modern take on the old school type of RPGs. Now the Bravely team are back with their first game for Switch, Octopath Traveler, but is it just as good as the previous games? Let's find out. Set in Austeria, Octopath Traveler is a beautifully old-school type of RPG, but with a few differences. The most notable feature of the game is that there's 8 different playable characters, and right from the get-go you have a choice on who you want to be your protagonist. This protagonist will be your main character and will never leave your party. Once selecting your character, you play through the first chapter of their story, which is around 45 minutes to about an hour and a half, and it introduces you to that character, sets up their story whilst showing off the basics of that character's ability, as well as combat and a nice little boss at the end. Once you finish the chapter, you'll then let loose in the game's world and you can choose how you want to progress through the game. You can decide to recruit all the other 7 characters or just select a few if you want. There's a great amount of freedom to how you play the game. There's no set path, so you're free to create your own story and make your own adventure, and that is a very welcome feature. Now with 8 different characters, each with their own story, it does make for a rather disjointed story as you'll be going from one character's story to another. Each of the 8 stories on offer are mostly isolated affairs, only really concerning the main character of that storyline. The stories are pretty down to earth as well, with like tales of avenging the death of a loved one to trying to find a medical aid for a person. It's nothing really like a quest to stop the end of the world that features prominently in other JRPGs. As for the 8 characters you can play as in Octopath Traveler, each of them has their own skills, talents and weapons that can help you on your adventure. For example, there's characters like Hannah the Hunter who can recruit enemies to fight by her side. There's also Primrose who can tempt NPCs to reveal info, whilst also buffing your team in battle. Each of the 8 characters are very integral to fully experience Octopath Traveler to the fullest, as each character's skills can make certain part of the game more easier. Time to talk about the battles, and they're set up very much like the typical old school JRPG games that clearly inspired this game, but with a few differences. First up is the boost point system, which is very similar to the Bravely system in the Bravely Default games. You earn a BP every turn and your character can hold up to 5 BP at a time. Once you're ready to let it out on the enemy, you can spend up to 3 BP, which can boost your move immensely. This means you can do up to 4 basic attacks, boost your spells and healing abilities. It's certainly a brilliant system that adds a great risk-reward element to each battle. The boost point system goes hand in hand with Octopath Traveler's other main mechanic, the break system. Each enemy has a shield next to it with a number on it, with a few little icons of weapons or spells next to it. These are the enemy's weaknesses, so every time you attack the enemy with its weakness, the number of the shield goes down. Once the shield number goes to 0, the enemy enters a break state and misses the next turn, allowing you to attack it. While the enemy is in a break state, it also takes much more damage from attacks, and you can do devastating damage to a break state enemy if you attack it with a max BP attack. If you play it right and use your boost points wisely, you can complete battles without even getting attacked by the enemy. These 2 mechanics are the game's bread and butter in battles, and it works so well and makes for some very addictive combat encounters. As you go through the game, you will level up your party of characters, but the game has a fair few ways of progression. You obviously have your tried and tested level and up system that featured in practically every RPG since the year dot, but there's also a job system which sees you gain points to spend on extra skills based on your character's job, and extra traits to help you out. Once you master your class, you can give your character an extra class, which allows for extra experimentation for your party. One of the greatest things about the progression in Octopath Traveler is all how easy it is to understand. I've played many different RPGs in the past that got way too bogged down with stats and the like, and it kinda got very confusing and off-putting. It's certainly refreshing that Octopath progression system is accessible, but it doesn't feel dumbed down for RPG experts. When you're not battling enemies or moving the various different stories forward, you'll be exploring the beautiful land of Austeria. And the map is full of things to see and do, as there's plenty of towns to visit, dungeons to explore, side quests to complete, and optional areas to find. There is certainly a lot of game here for your money, as trying to complete just the main storylines for the 8 characters will take you upwards of 50 plus hours to complete, and plus many more if you want to complete all the side quests and extra activities. This is certainly one of the most content-rich games on the Nintendo Switch. Presentation-wise, the game looks absolutely gorgeous with its truly unique graphical art style. Called 2D HD, the graphics really captured the nostalgic look of the 16-bit days, but with a nice modern twist. The sprite work here is top-notch, with plenty of 3D objects littered throughout the environment. From the lovely lighting, weather and water effects, the whole game's just bursts with polish that is only possible with modern-day technology. The game's soundtrack also matches its incredible looking graphics with an absolutely majestic soundtrack. The soundtrack is fully orchestrated and it does show how much care has gone into it, with each track from the main theme to quieter places that play in town to the more upbeat tracks in battles all suit the game to a T, and it all makes for a very memorable and very enjoyable soundtrack. Conclusion time now, and whilst the story here isn't its strong point, don't let that put you off this game, as Octopath Traveler is a truly wonderful and majestic JRPG that harks back to those glory days of the 16-bit era. It's an immersive game that's great for newcomers for the genre, whilst also offering plenty of depth for RPG fans. It's a lengthy experience that stands among as arguably the greatest RPG on the Switch, and with that, I'm giving Octopath Traveler a 9.5 out of 10 with the title of amazing. Thank you for watching my review, like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming, bye!